After Fav is ready, we have a male character as we are Nerdsmith who rated us. Sovrag, oh hey! Thank you so much for the sub. We landed on a 2. We have another dwarf. Uh-oh. Man, it writes itself, everyone. If we have a magical academy atop a plateau, and this is an anime like high school fighter, I wonder if we're gonna get a young adult, because that would be amazing. All right, so after Fav with the dwarf. Now the question is, are we gonna have a hill dwarf or a mountain dwarf? Katniss, I'm gonna call on you next in case you zonk out. I need you to type exclamation point 1d4 in chat. And a 1 or a 2 is a hill dwarf, a 3 and a 4 is a mountain dwarf. Three, we have a mountain dwarf. Excellent. We have a male mountain dwarf. By the way, those are medium-sized creatures. And what about a gray dwarf? Well, we're only sticking to the player's handbook races. And they do mention Duragar, but stats are not given. So sticking with just what's presented in the player's handbook, we're aware of them, though they're not a playable race. This is the defense against the dark arts teacher, not a student. Well, let's find out. Daily, will you please roll a percentile in chat, and let's determine on our balanced odds distribution what the alignment of our character is going to be. 28. A chaotic good character. Impulsive and, tends to be selfless, or at least has no problems putting others before himself. Oh, you better curl up and go to bed then, Katniss, if that's happening. Now, we already know the level. We're gonna be making a level 17 character. That way we can compare across the board level 17 characters for things, like hit points or abilities, mostly apples to apples. And we already know for our class that we are a Druid Wildfire. So we already have our level, though we do need to determine, are we going to be taking any feats, or is this going to be pure stat bumps? And so, Raven, will you please type exclamation point 1D100 and tell us if we are going to be taking any feats, or if we're going to go all stat bumps. Stops on a 61, almost, though it's all au naturel, as I guess a druid should be, huh? We are not. That is correct, Raven. Right, next up, Raz. Raz, I want you to help me determine what is our background. Going off of the backgrounds in the player's handbook, there are technically 18 of them. And so, Raz, will you roll a 1d20 in chat and help us determine what our background is? And while you do that, I'm going to open this bag of hydrogen water and start drinking it. Stops on 6. Another entertainer gladiator? Oh ho ho. Oh whoa, what is this? Another entertainer gladiator. We already have our class and subclass, and most druids do not have class features. The Circle of the Land does. And that is which circle, which terrain are you learning, but that's not going to apply to this character. Now we need to determine the age of the character. This could be a peer or a mentor, could be a teacher, kind of like what was brought up. Yep, clicker, I will call on you. I need you to type exclamation point 1D100 in chat, and you're going to tell us how old our mountain dwarf is. And if we get a young adult, this is going to be super uncanny. And it stops on a 5. We have a child prodigy. We are still firmly in the realm of anime. We are still firmly in the realm of anime. And so our mountain dwarf is... I'm naming this campaign Battle Butts of Plateau High. Who do we have out here? Do we have, Wolfblade, are you still out there? Wolfblade, can you roll me a d6 if you are? Let's find out how old our child prodigy is. All right. We have a 6-year-old child prodigy druid. You can really taste and smell the hydrogen. All right. This is so anime, my goodness. You have to turn in for the night. My kiddo and I missed my chance to say rigged. Oh, wait, you have to turn on a nightlight for my kiddo? Oh, all right. Well, welcome back, Daily. Well, and look, we're dealing with natural magic, so we might have the physical appearance of a 6-year-old, though mountain dwarves can be over 350 years old. And so here's the question. Pardon me. Especially because... Actually, let's see if we end up with this. Oh, almost. However, in story, because this is... this honestly can happen at any level. This isn't necessarily mechanical, you know. It's an epic thing, which is why it's level 18. But I wonder if somehow our child, at some point in time, wasn't chosen by nature to receive these powers, and so he's actually aged very, very slowly, and could actually be like 50 years old. But he was given the gift of the timeless body that druids receive earlier. What do you mean it's not helium water? That's exactly what I got it for, Katniss. Jeez, come on. I have not been watching Mandalorian, no, Daily. All right, so we have our age. Now, what about our base height and our height modifier? What if this is simply an apparent age? If our apparent age is 6, we're probably really close to the base height here. I don't know how much more growing that we have to really do. So why don't we just call him at 3'8", and then we'll have a weight modifier. Cincy Omega, welcome, and hey, if we have someone from Ohio here also, it's great to meet another Ohioan. Thank you for the follow. Weight modifier. Why don't we end up rolling? We'll see if he has if he still's got some baby cheeks to him here. So you know, go for a D6. Katniss, will you please type exclamation point 1D6 in chat? All right, 3'8" and 120 pounds. There we go. Excellent. We're almost finished. He is a sphere, says Daly. Yeah, I'm in, well, you would know it as Sandusky. A lot of people know it as Cedar Point. How about that? Daly, will you please roll 4d6 in chat? And the first three numbers will give us our ideal bond and flaw. And Cincy Omega, I'd love your help in building this character. Can you please type exclamation point 1d8 in chat to give us a personality trait? 2, 1, and 2. Ideal, bond, and flaw. Glad that wasn't a damage roll, says Daly. You know, if only the movie actually were filmed in the city and not in Canada and borrowing some props from the city, Sovreg. Stops on a 4. We were mentioned in an episode of Metalocalypse. How about that? But yeah, I have a game store up here in town, and so this is bread and butter stuff. Teaching D&D, playing, having a great time with other people. So Cincy, I mean, welcome. You're sitting at a table in a game store, if only in a virtual space. Oh, you live in San Dimas? Oh, okay. But the Wild Stallions rule. Come on, Sovrag. By the way, Sovrag, will you type exclamation point 1d8 and give us a second personality trait for our character? I mean, next you're going to tell me that Encino Man wasn't actually dug up and brought back from a million-year-old ice cube under the sands of California in actual Encino. Come on. Come on now. All right, we have... Well, who knows? So what we've just done, and there's a little bit more random number generation that we're going to continue with. For the most part, we have an outline of our character, right? We have the constellation drawn from the unlimited heavens of infinite possibility. We have points of reference now that we can begin to fill in our character as he comes to life before us with our own imaginations, our own circumstances for the character, and of course, little bit by little bit in the background, we have been building, we have been building up a story on the backs of our first two characters. And now our third one is going to help refine the world and the story, as well as have his own motivations and thoughts. I love beginning with the background of a character. This is going to tell us so much more about our character than simply, oh, Mountain Dwarf, gotcha, check list of mechanics. No, who is our character? How does he make decisions? What led him to this life? All right, we have an entertainer, or more specifically, the Gladiator. A gladiator is as much an entertainer as any minstrel or circus performer, trained to make the arts of combat into a spectacle the crowd can enjoy. This kind of flashy combat is your entertainer routine, though you might also have some skills as a tumbler or actor. And you know what? Why don't we give ourselves some kind of a side skill too? Using your by popular demand feature, you can find a place to perform in any place that features combat for entertainment. Perhaps a gladiatorial arena or secret pit fighting club. You can replace the musical instrument in your equipment package with an inexpensive but unusual weapon, such as a trident or net. He's Spanky from Little Rascal, says Raz. Tragedy led him to this adventure? We'll find out, Katniss. So in addition to performing as a druid, some combat feats for entertainment. Yes, I suppose so. As if he also competes, he might be sort of a student under the tutelage of our trifling super competitive Karen elf. Hello, Hypnotic Gamer. It is going very well. In fact, Hypnotic Gamer, will you please type exclamation point 1d10? Lands on a 5. He juggles. Ooh. He can become a juggling bear with his shape change. We almost have an Oso de la Fez. All right, so our background feature is by popular demand, and of course we can find a place to stay, some extra coinage, and maybe even information, or to facilitate an adventure by performing in various locales, with the Gladiator custom thought thrown in. Now, as a part of the background, we're going to have training in acrobatics and performance. We're going to have tool proficiencies with a These Guys kit and one type of musical instrument. Tools, disguise kit, and an instrument of some kind. Let's determine quickly what kind of an instrument he is proficient at playing. If we go by just what's in the player's handbook, because obviously there's so many more instruments that exist. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Raz, will you please roll a d10 in chat to determine what is his proficient instrument? Lands on a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The horn. Proficient in the horn. The cowbell is intimidating, says Raven. Mm-hmm. Boop, boop, boop. Go back to the background. Doop, doop, doop. Doop, doop, doop. I went too far. Here we go. It could be a French horn. It could just be a horn. You might have, if you want to interpret it as some kind of trumpet. Let's discover our character, and maybe that'll tell us more about a specific kind of horn that he might play. Maybe he found a way that as a druid he can wild shape, and if he wild shapes into a creature with a horn, maybe he found a way to use it kind of like a blowhole or something, and he can kind of like at the top of his head, because he learned a cool trick while wild shaping one day. He is a child prodigy after all. Cincy Omega, I do hope you join us on Discord. It'd be wonderful. Now we are going to be getting some starting equipment, and I'll tell you what, Cincy Omega, one of the things we get is a favor, the favor of an admirer. And it gives some examples, a love letter, lock of hair, or a trinket. And I would love to know the trinket that we received from an admirer of some kind. And so, Cincy Omega, if you wouldn't mind typing exclamation point 1D100, let's find out which trinket we have. Well, welcome aboard if you joined our Discord, Cincy. And then if you can give me an exclamation point 1D100 in chat, you will determine a gift that was given to our performer from someone who admires what he does. It could be Raz. 42. All right. Trinket 42. Now, I don't know which one that is yet, and we'll look at it soon. I'm not looking at it yet. For any of you who are new here, there's a tendency that the story writes itself. And soon, I suppose, we'll see how continually true this is as we work in this trinket that was given to him as a part of him and his story. It writes itself, Raven. All right, so we're going to get a musical instrument. Now, the Gladiator variant did say that we could take a weapon if we wanted. Let's take a horn to continue to play. We have our favor from an admirer, a costume. We didn't really have a costume for our other character, but that might just be like the class uniform for performing. It could be something along those lines. It could be something unique. I'll still put question marks just in case we want to go back and touch that up. And then a belt pouch containing 15 gold pieces. Okay, now, what is his personality? Let's get to know our character's character. Here we have an apparently 6-year-old mountain dwarf boy. However, the powers of magic may mean that he's actually a lot older, or that he has been that he could be a mighty warrior that has been reincarnated through druidic magic, reincarnated into a new body that was a child, and perhaps the child has to go through, because again, with everything that's been set up so far, this is heavily leaning into kind of an anime school, like slice of life / fighter / something. And so he might have to go back through school as a child form of himself in this new form in order to continue through his life. His druid stuff might be his uniform. Well, he probably performs an animal. He probably performs as an animal a lot, so that could be considered something similar, Clicker. Good morning, Slayso. Good morning to you. Well, we already rolled for it, as if he was reincarnated, he came back as a mountain dwarf. Thrall has been transported into the anime world. Are you seeing this character a lot like Thrall, Raven? All right, I'm going to scoot this over, boop, 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 because I'd rather you take a look at the player's handbook. You can still see the character sheet, but what I type isn't as important as the things that we discuss. Sovrag, oh, have a great night. Thank you for joining us. Sovrag, thank you for, look at that beautiful bowl of guacamole next to your name. We're starting mild, and it's only going to get spicier from here, my friend. Have an awesome, awesome night, and be well. Oh, roll for it in reverse to find out what he was before? What if he doesn't know? And he has to find out by going through things. Ah, Thrall was also a child prodigy. Well then, maybe we can take inspiration. All right, his first personality trait is number 4. Nobody stays angry at me or around me for long, since I can diffuse any amount of tension. We're chill. We can take care of a lot of problems. People look at us and laugh. Maybe we help people feel better. We have kind of a Tyrion Lannister kind of a Tyrion Lannister kind of vibe. And number 2, whenever I come to a new place, I collect, we are Tyrion Lannister as the Hand of the King, I collect local rumors and spread gossip. Now, what this could mean is if we're an entertainer under our whatever, class president, our trifling class president, our Ojo-sama laughing, oh, ho, ho, ho. You know, frenemy, a rival, because she is also a gladiator who spouts poetry, and so he may be training under her for that aspect, and she also has that as a part of her personality. And so her connection to this Kohai, if she's going to be his senpai, could be that he goes out and is the little bird. He is also Varys. He can become the little bird and go and collect information to tweet back to her. And because he's so easygoing and she wants people to respect her and acknowledge her authority, he's in some cases a literal lapdog for her. You know, he'll just turn into he'll turn into a pupper and just kind of jump up and curl up on her lap while she's thinking evil thoughts. So he's laid back, and so he plays a horn of some kind, and it could be fun little like do 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 as a warning. It could just be wah 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 to make people laugh by providing some background music. There's a lot of ways that this will certainly fit together. Okay. Now, what is his ideal? Welcome, Kitty Bird. Always great to have you. Welcome for poofing into existence. What is his ideal? Number 2, tradition. The stories, legends, and songs of the past must never be forgotten, for they teach us who we are. Oh, so going back to what Raz was talking about, who was he before this reincarnation went wrong, and he was put back into the body of a child with all the power of an epic level druid, and he has to go back through school for it. We strive to be good people, and you know what, Kitty Bird? Sometimes we're not. Sometimes we get upset, or, we may say things we regret, because we're all human beings here, right? Human beings? But you are always welcomed here to our other flawed human being convention, Kitty Bird. Speaking of, we're almost to this character's flaw. Now, what is his bond? His bond is number 1. My instrument is my most treasured possession, and it reminds me of someone I love. Our horn is from someone we love, and we can't remember who that is. Is it a family member? Like a mother, a brother, a cousin? Is it someone we had affection for in our prior life? Could it have been a spouse or some other significant other? This is exactly what a bond is supposed to do. It's supposed to glue you to the world because there are other people, places, and things. We like calling those nouns. There are other nouns out there that are anchoring you into this world. And so if we enjoy playing the horn, and maybe it's an animal horn, could this be, the horn of my best friend? Maybe he's no longer alive. What if something happened? I don't know. He turned into a steer, and something bad happened. The horn broke off, and this is all we have to remember him by. Or maybe he's absolutely alive. In fact, maybe with the other character we make might end up being that lost loved one, but we just don't remember because something went. You know what? That sounds like an isekai title, doesn't it? That time I died and got reincarnated as a 6-year-old dwarf, or something along those lines. So maybe in our prior life, we have this memory of maybe trying to save. Raven. Maybe we tried to save our lover in our former life. Something happened and we still have his or her horn broken off. And in the reincarnation process, that just became kind of a part of us because of, how tragic it was or how much it meant. This is a very powerfully inspiring character so far. Raven says this is Tanya the Evil all over again. And lastly, our flaw, for we are all flawed creatures. Yes, you out there are flawed. Surprise! What? You're not? Well, that's your flaw then. And his flaw is number 2. I'm a sucker for a pretty face. This is classic anime stuff right here. So you have the kid who's actually, more of a, he has a mature mind because he's actually, as a druid, as an elder druid, as a dwarf or whatever else he was before, honestly, he could be 200 years old. And he's reincarnated back here. And, think of the things that he can get away with if he's, almost like a Conan the Detective, where people are like, oh, you're just a little kid, whatever. He's a sucker for a pretty face. I'm not saying that he's pervy or lecherous, but of course, in the context of anime, I'm sure characters like this come to mind. But he probably can use his new stature as a... Oh, the horn of a former tiefling lover. Ooh, slay so. All right, you know what then? We'll find out more about the lover. Let's take Raz's idea. The horn belonged to his lover, whose name was Lena, because it is Lena's horn? I don't understand the reference, Raz. I'll tell you what we're gonna do. If he is reincarnated, and he was reincarnated into a mountain dwarf, but something went wrong and he came back in a kid body, who was he before? And so, Raz, this was your suggestion. Raz, will you roll a D100 in order to determine who we were before we were reincarnated as a mountain dwarf? $54. Ah, he was a half-elf. So I'm going to put this in character backstory. Formerly a half-elf, but he doesn't remember that. Actually, what kind of half? Kitty Bird, will you do me a favor and type !1d3 and let's determine which elf he was. A drow, high elf, or wood elf? A high elf. Do we have a connection? Is there, because our first character, our trifling class president, is a full high elf. What if the big brother became the little brother? Oh, there's so much potential to this. Oh my gosh. Formerly a half high elf, but he doesn't remember that. He died saving his lover and was reincarnated into the form of a little mountain dwarf. Razius, the bottom half. Whoops. Did I close my...
I closed it. Oh no.
Come back. Player's Handbook. I beseech thee. Man, this is what we get for playing with nature magic, huh? Let's go back to reincarnate real quick. See, now this says it recalls its former life and experiences, so obviously something went wrong, right? Okay. I love it. It writes itself. Need to go for the evening? You're going to go watch Netflix and try to stop spreading this illness all over the console. All right, Raven. Drive carefully. Thank you so much for being a part of the stream. And if you don't mind, you don't have to. You don't have to report to us. But let us know that you've arrived safely, okay? Yep, but I hope you feel better, Raven. Excellent. So we have our character, and you know what? There's hardly a number to be found that is Mechanical Crunch, and already we can imagine this character, the decisions he makes. We know the goals that he's going to end up having. A lot of roleplay prompts and cues. There's a lot of ways that we can already interact with the character, and all we've done is sat down and discuss his background. That's why I love this process so much. And he has a compelling reason to, to maybe even, he understands, he feels a connection here with Amos. Maybe because of this, innate high elf blood that, there's still a couple drops floating around in him. Or there could be a relationship somewhere here. Somewhere involved. Anyway, let's find out. Let's find out more, shall we? We've been reincarnated into the body of a mountain dwarf. And so we're going to go to Dwarf. This is so interesting because we have a dwarf and an elf. And now we have a dwarf that was an elf. Your constitution, all dwarves, con +2. We already have our age alignment. We have our size. Our speed is 25 feet, giving us climb, swim, and 0 fly. We do get 60 feet of dark vision. We have Dwarven Resilience, so we have advantages on saving throws versus poison, and resistance to poison damage. So, while you all might not necessarily see everything I'm editing on this page, I'm simply making notes as I'm narrating going through this. Next up, we have Dwarven Combat Training. And so, our weapon proficiencies, as a druid, we're going to get... I'm going to put Druidic List, because it's a specially curated list. However, we're also going to be getting... some Dwarven weapons. You have proficiency with the Battle Axe, Hand Axe, Throwing Hammer, and Warhammer. Now, this is where you could have some interesting fun with your Dungeon Master. That you two can plot and maybe let the other characters explore what's happening. Or even the Dungeon Master might tell you, might give you this clue and you have to figure it out. Both dwarves and elves have racial combat training. The dwarves have the light hammer and warhammer, the battle axe and hand axe. And elves get... Whoops. Longsword, short bow, and longbow. Given the history of this character, with your DM's permission, what if you split the two? And so what if you're proficient with hammers and swords, or bows and axes, something like that? And you ended up splitting it because there's still that clue, right? You were an elf. You did receive this training, but something was instilled in you when you reformed. And so you can grip an axe with the same tenacity as you can grip a sword. Solace. Hello, yes. And we're going to be getting to that very soon. We're building the foundation for the character. And next up, we're going to be applying base druid mechanics, and then we're going to apply the subclass, the Wildfire Circle, and we're going to take a closer look at what that is and what it does. So for here, it might end up just being a mix. So we have our druidic list of proficient weapons, and maybe we go, if we go, we'll go longsword and battle axe, because both of those are versatile weapons. And then we can throw a light hammer, and we can also fire a longbow. And that could give a clue into our past as we're discovering the world that we're building around our characters. Maybe we will. Maybe we will, Raz. We're going to get tool proficiency. You gain proficiency with the artisan's tools of your choice. Smith's tools, brewer's supplies, or mason's tools. And this might reflect, especially because our new body is young, this might reflect something that we did before. To determine if we didn't want to just assign a set of the three common dwarven tools. Again, ask your DM, because a tool proficiency is a tool proficiency. Is it going to break the game if you take carpenter's tools over smith's tools as a dwarf? No, it's not. Unless your DM has something super specific planned, it shouldn't. So have fun with it. Solace, will you do me a favor and type !1d20 in chat? You're going to help us determine which set of artisan tools we have proficiency with as our character. Oh, you need a 1. Exclamation point 1d20. Stops on a 3. Ooh, calligrapher supplies. Again, that could be another link over to our Twilight cleric here. She's a poet. And maybe he can make her words seem really nice, and maybe he used to. And so if we have What a Twist, where this is actually like the older brother of the sister here, maybe she learned from watching her older brother how to form words and wanted to be the best poet. He died. She ended up getting a bitter remorse in her heart that turned her into the trifling class president stereotype, kind of hime dere anime trope, because of that anger. And now she seeks to control a dwarf, gentle copper quarry. And now she seeks to control a dwarf because maybe she has these unresolved, brother's death issues. It does. This is writing itself very well, and it's all through random numbers. So Solace, I mean, if you're new here, this is who we are and what we do in our workshop. The characters we make, we breathe life into them. We think about their decisions, their histories, and after all of that, it builds a world around them, and it builds a fun adventure setting, and we take that into other parts of the workshop. It's absolutely amazing. All right, what else as a dwarf? What else? Stone cunning. We have a good knack for knowing the history of stone things. Languages. You can speak, read, and write Common and Dwarvish. Now, if your DM says, yeah, take Elven as well, it's not going to necessarily break the game if you can speak Elven. But maybe, maybe that's something that your DM doesn't give you at character creation, but as you unlock more of the mystery of who your character is, then you learn the language because it's slowly coming back to you. We are going to learn Druidic, though, when we get to that part. And then we need to go to our subrace of the Mountain Dwarf. As a Mountain Dwarf, our strength goes up by 2. And we have proficiency with light and medium armor, but that's not really going to matter because we're going to get that from being a druid. That face when Wildfire is probably the best way to make a summoner, but still doesn't include the fun wizard spells that go with Arcanist. And Soname, we will we'll take a look at those mechanics here in just a little bit. For now, we are making a 17th level druid, but we're not worrying about the subclass just yet. As a 17th level druid, this is what we get. We're going to know 4 cantrips. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to have a proficiency bonus of +6. And we're going to have some spell slots. 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. You came from a stream I visited. This is an interesting style. Never tried making a random character. Well, hey, Solace, you came on board in the middle of this one. You came on board in the middle of this one, and after we finish this, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to start a second character so we can compare the abilities. The reason why we're going level 17 is because in this Unearthed Arcana document, the capstone ability for the cleric is level 17. And so we made 2 level 17 Twilight Domain clerics. And in order to help keep things more apples to apples, comparing across the board, the last, the capstone for the Druid subclass is 14, though to keep it comparable to our other characters, we're going to make them all 17th level. This way we get a feeling for the abilities and, you know, do things seem really wonky power-wise in terms of fluff or crunch? Does something come up where we say this could be a lot of fun, or this could be really distracting? You know, cautions or even just, barrel into this and have a blast because it doesn't seem like it's broken at all. All right, we are a D8 hit die class, and we're 17th level, so lo and behold, we get 17 D8 hit die that we can spend when we rest to naturally recover our hit points, so that we don't have to rely on magic or potions or the like. Armor, light armor, medium armor, and shields. And in parentheses, it does say druids will not wear armor or use shields made of metal. Statistically, if you're sticking with light, medium, or lighter, medium armor and shields, it's up to you. Do you want to wear metal? Ravnican druids wear metal. Does this, I was going to say cleric, does this druid wear metal? Or are we going to play the dance of, okay, I get it, DM, I can't wear metal. I understand. So instead, I would like to wear iron wood armor. So I have all the stats of metal armor, but I'm not wearing metal armor. And you could either look at it as a contrivance, or you look at it and say, no, I'm abiding by it. I love it. I'm going to role play with my ironwood armor. And maybe it took me a little bit more to get it, but you know what? I'm going to rock it and be proud of it. You can take it in a lot of different directions. Ultimately, look, are you having fun playing D&D? Then congratulations, you've won the game. Soname says, I can make any job from 14 in 5e except Summoner, and Blue Mage. Why can't you make those two, Soname? Yep, now you just got to keep winning, Hypnotic Gamer. Ironwood is, it could be a fantasy wood that grows that, so the druid can say, yes, I'm wearing wooden armor, but it's the same as metal banded armor because the wood is just as hard as metal, but I'm not wearing metal, so I'm getting around that, and I have all the stats, and or again, you could build it because ironwood, because I've used trees like this. Just has these metallic properties, and it's something rare. It's something cool. You do some story and lore and world building with it. So our armor proficiencies are light, medium, and shields. And you can see what I mean with specific weapons on the druid list. So that's why I just put druidic list and then the curated ones. We do get an herbalism kit proficiency. And, in something like this, does not having an herbalism kit hurt your character? No. Would this mean that you could approach your DM and say, hey, DM, could I get an extra language if I gave up herbalism kit? Or could I work herbalism kit into my story somehow? I think there's a lot of ways that you could do that. Our saving throws are going to be intelligence and wisdom. So we're going to mark a proficiency here, and we'll worry about the numbers later. Now, for the skills, we get to choose 2 from Arcana, Animal Handling, Insight, Medicine, Nature, Perception, Religion, and Survival. Let's take a look at his personality, because this is going to help determine his skill proficiencies. Nobody stays angry at me or around me for long, since I can defuse any amount of tension. That could be insight. You're trying to read a room and you can say the right things to de-escalate something. Whenever I come to a new place, I collect local rumors and spread gossip. That could be perception. That could also be more insight. Or honestly, it's just you turn into a cat when you get into town and you just listen with your ears. You don't need to have a special proficiency for it. Tradition. The stories, legends, and songs of the past must never be forgotten, for they teach us who we are. Well, religion in this case could be this historical tie. Could be the reason why we were drawn here, or why we're going here again in our reincarnated, if not a botched reincarnated body. Plus, this is a school anime, so it might make sense to give an intelligence skill to someone. My instrument is my most treasured possession, and it reminds me of someone I love. And I'm a sucker for a pretty face. Aww. Scholar is a life thurge wizard with a refluffed owl familiar to be a fairy. One person plays it in my game. Ooh, cool, Saname. Wildfire Druid is decent, but not good enough for me, and blue just isn't supported mechanically. I like insight and religion. I think we're going to go with that. That is going to be partially up to what your DM decides to do with their herbalism kit, Solace. It might be able to heal. It might be able to alleviate status conditions. It might be able to just be a role-playing tool that never really has a mechanical benefit. But it's just something that you work into your character, who's always, crushing herbs, collecting herbs, mixing to mix. And maybe, honestly, he just likes the smell of crushed mint in his mortar and pestle. Could be as simple as that. Insight's a really solid one, Solace. Now, we're also going to learn the secret language of Druidic. Spellcasting, not worried about spellcasting. We're saving that for last. It's not that it's, bad. It's a big part of being a druid. Though we don't need to worry about our spells right now. We're still focusing on our character. We are going to get to Wild Shape. And we're going to get to Wild Shape 2 times a day. Well, look at that. And because we're past 8th level, this is a CR1 creature. And there's no limitations. Now, there's a lot of points about Wild Shape. Don't let all the text get you... don't let all the text get you kind of... Oh, I'm never going to play a druid. I can never remember all this. A lot of it is... It seems like minutia. It's simply clarifying what happens when you turn into an animal. Because there's some points to consider. What happens to your clothes? What happens if you turn into a tiger, but the tiger is crushed under a boulder? Do you die as well? Because maybe your body is stronger than a tiger's body. Or maybe the tiger was stronger than yours, and what happens? So, just take a moment to read through this. This is no worse than reading, rage mechanics on a barbarian. Druid Circle, we're going to get there. I'm not worried about the Druid Circle just yet. Ability score improvement, we did roll that we're going to get all stat bumps at 4, 8, 12, and 16. And then we're just shy of Timeless Body. And we started the conversation by saying, well, Timeless Body, it certainly is epic because it slows down your aging a lot. And we said, well, what if something happened to this character? He's a child prodigy as we rolled him. Did he get Timeless Body at some point prior, and it locked him into this? He's actually 100 years old, but he looks like a 6-year-old kid. And it's something for your DM to think about. Is this going to make your fireballs hit harder? No. This is pure roleplay. Maybe a slight mechanical overlay if a ghost ever tries to scare you to death by aging you. But we're just shy of a Timeless Body and Beast spells. However, we've made a druid. Yay! And now let's delve into what exactly is. What is the Circle of Wildfire? Druids who are members of the Circle of Wildfire understand the necessity of destruction, such as how a forest fire promotes growth. These druids bond with a primal spirit that harbors destructive tendencies, allowing the druids to use their power to create controlled flames that help flora and fauna reproduce and grow. We are going to get some circle spells. You have formed a mystical bond with a wildfire spirit, a primal being of creation and destruction. Your link with this spirit grants you access to certain spells. At 2nd level, you learn the Firebolt cantrip. Well, then, we're going to put that here. Circle spells, Firebolt. Once you gain access to one of these spells, you can always have it prepared, and it doesn't count against the number of spells you can prepare each day. If you gain access to a spell that doesn't appear on the Druid spell list, the spell is nonetheless a Druid spell for you. And so we are going to be getting these spells. Well, we haven't talked about spell casting, as this doesn't count against us here. We are going to have our Wildfire spells. There we go. And I'm going to scoot this over for efficient typing on my end. You may not see everything. Maybe, well, no, we're clipping out the other stuff that's not relevant right now. Locate animals or plants. And Scorching Ray. Fireball. And Plant Growth. Aura of Life. And Fire Shield. Then lastly, we have Flame Strike and Raise Dead. Ooh. Not just Reincarnate. It's a little different. Anyway. Summon Wildfire. 2nd level feature. You can summon the primal spirit. I have nothing wrong with this, by the way, thematically, for what the Druid is. I don't think it's overpowered so far. You can summon the primal spirit bound to your soul. As an action, you can expend one use of your Wild Shape feature to summon your Wildfire spirit, rather than assuming a beast form. The spirit appears in an unoccupied space of your choice you can see within 30 feet of you. Each creature within 10 feet of the spirit, other than you, when it appears, must succeed on a dexterity saving throw against your spell save DC or take 2d10 fire damage. The Wildfire spirit is friendly to you and your companions and obeys your commands. See this creature's game statistics in the Wildfire spirit stat block. You determine the spirit's appearance. Some spirits take the form of a humanoid figure made of gnarled branches covered in flame, while others look like beasts wreathed in fire. Given ours, we're a sucker for a pretty face. We probably have a very lovely looking lady made of fire. In combat, the Wildfire spirit shares your initiative count. Probably is the soul of our loved one that we leapt in front of to save, and she ended up being transformed or something still happened. But we don't know we don't actually know it's our our lost love, whose horn we broke off. So she probably takes the form of a tiefling, of an on fire, lovely tiefling lady. If we go with what Raz was talking about earlier when we were creating the character. In combat, the Wildfire spirit shares your initiative count, but it takes its turn immediately after yours. The only action it takes on its turn is the dodge action, unless you take a bonus action on your turn to command it, to take one of the actions in its stat block, or to take the dash, disengage, help, or hide action. The Wildfire spirit manifests for 1 hour, until it is reduced to 0 hit points, or until you use Wild Shape again. Solace, you like, pardon me, when you get a companion as part of your class, it's just a shame, though, how the companion usually doesn't scale. Well, the Unearthed Arcana traits to the Beastmaster Ranger have solved a big portion of that concern, if that's from where it was born. And I understand what you're saying, Saname. So as a bonus action, you could give yourself help with this Wildfire Spirit. And you can also make ranged attacks and have some interaction. You know, you can send this sort of like a flaming sphere on the battlefield. It also gets fire teleportation. The spirit and each willing creature of your choice within 5 feet can teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. Each creature within 10 feet of the space that the spirit left must succeed on a dexterity saving throw or take fire damage. Oh, probably like, boo! We're rocketing up. Okay, so we are going to get, in our archetype here, or our subclass, Summon Wildfire. And of course, we can always put that, the stats down here, under the companion part of the sheet. In addition to summoning Wildfire, we are going to have an enhanced bond. The bond with your Wildfire Spirit enhances your destructive and restorative spells. Whenever you cast a spell that deals fire damage or restores hit points while your Wildfire Spirit is summoned, roll a d8, and you gain a bonus to one roll of the spell equal to the number rolled. In addition, when you cast a spell with a range other than self, the spell can originate from you or your Wildfire Spirits. Kind of like a familiar. That's pretty cool. Next up, Flames of Life. You gain the ability to turn death into flames of vitality. When a small or larger creature that you can see dies within 30 feet of you. Whew, this circle is... It writes itself, everyone. For what we just... Oh my gosh. For everything we were talking about before we even took a look at this Druid circle, this is absolutely fitting for the character as he was, and even as he still is. Oh my gosh. Dies within 30 feet of you or your Wildfire Spirit, you can use your reaction to cause primal flames to spring from the body. When a creature you can see touches these flames, the creature regains hit points or takes fire damage, your choice, equal to 2d10 plus your wisdom modifier. The flames vanish after a creature has touched them or after a minute. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So we have Flames of Life, and we can do that a number of times, not charisma. Wisdom per long rest. And lastly, we get Blazing Endurance. That sounds like something you shout when you're in a mech. That's the rule of piloting a mech. You got to shout everything that you do. The bond with your Wildfire Spirit is exceptionally strong. Even fatal blows only fuel your defiance. If you drop to 0 hit points and don't die outright, you drop to 1 hit point instead and gain temporary hit points equal to 5 times your Druid level. And each creature of your choice within 30 feet of you that you can see takes fire damage equal to 2d10 plus your Druid level. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. And cat butt, everyone. If you have the emote, certainly share it with others, as this cat is sharing his butt with you all. Yeah, I see what you're getting at, Saname. So it can be used on a dead person, or is that fact they had to die? Which one, Solace? The Blazing Endurance? Because what happens is when you should have died, you just explode in fire and gain a bunch of temporary hit points to help buffer more incoming damage from your one remaining hit point that it gives you. So, yeah, the person's not dead, but they would be unconscious and dying when Blazing Endurance takes place. Now, you can die, and it will bypass Blazing Endurance. Right, yeah, if you don't die outright from something that would bring you... that would drop you to 0 hit points. You know, if your maximum hit points are 10, I know this is a level 14, but let's just say it's 10, and you're at 5 hit points, and I dealt you 15 points of damage, you would die outright because I have dealt your maximum hit points, your maximum hit point worth of damage in an attack. This is so super appropriate for this character. This character would be amazing to play, a lot of fun, and just have a bittersweet tragedy to carry around with him here. As his Wildfire is, you know, his lost love, who probably did die, and it was a nice tiefling lady. But he just sees her spirit as a manifestation, not as her. At least not yet, until later on in the story, when he's put a couple pieces together. Excellent. Well, now... Oh, to the previous skill? Flames of Life. So you can turn death into the Flames of Vitality when a smaller, larger creature that you can see dies within 30 feet of you, or your Wildfire spirit. You can use your reaction to cause primal flames to spring from the body. When a creature you can see touches these flames, the creature regains hit points or takes fire damage, your choice, equal to 2d10 plus your wisdom. The flames vanish after a creature has touched them or after 1 minute. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier. Let's see, as it's written... Part of this would depend on the DM, and if your DM would allow you to take a reaction after being dropped to 0 hit points. Also, I don't know if the verbiage "a creature you can see" counts as you. It may. But I don't know the specific clarity on that verbiage. For a creature you can see would be a you. Also, you'd have to die. So dying does not interface with Blazing Endurance. Unless this was not typed with that in mind, or it was mistyped that they're supposed to interface, because Blazing Endurance keeps you from being in the dying state and therefore not dead eventually. Flames of Life is specifying when a smaller or larger creature you can see dies within 30 feet of you. So this would be, I don't know, you have a... well, it says small. But I don't know, let's just say you have a dire carrier pigeon that in the big city, you're used to strapping notes to it. And, you know, this thing is almost as big as you if you were a halfling. And, oh, hi, bud. and something happens. I don't know. It dies of old age. You know, it's a big bird. It just dies of old age. It dies within 30 feet of you. It is dead. It is absolutely dead. It's not even making death saving throws. It is DED dead. You could use Flames of Life. Hark rolls in from the end of Critical Role. Hark, was it a good episode? Were you happy with this episode of Critical Role? Would it count from the Warrior Wildfire Spirit? It still says that you have to see. And so if you die, you're unconscious and you cannot... yeah, you can't take a reaction if you're dead. You can't see if you're dead. Now, Solace, for the point of the story, perhaps with the Wildfire Spirit being the lost love that was taken in this botched... that was also transformed in this botched bring back to life spell that occurred. You might have a DM that would allow it, but as this playtest material is written, you would not be able to. A lot happened? Well, hey, progress is good, Hark. Does that mean that they're actually... Are they getting towards the end of the story, do you think? So now that we have the chassis of our character, why don't we drop the engine into him? And we're going to use the standard array of 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8. Oh, Big Sam is saying no way. They're nowhere near the end of the story. For a character like this, who's come back, we have someone who perhaps, maybe we even almost have... What if we have almost like a Full Metal Alchemist style thing going on, where he was trying to, he tried to sacrifice himself, invoke some druidic magic. There was a mixing of things, and just reaching the peak of Arc 1. Gee, and how many episodes into Season 2 are they then? Or I guess Campaign 2. I don't know if it's a season. Gotcha. So they're not near the end of the story. But they did make progress, and progress is good. I dare say that while he did study religion especially, I want to say we actually have a high int and a high wisdom. We have a very empathetic person. We have someone who, who loved and someone who really went out of his way. He retained his body in a sense. And of course something happened in the transformation. I would love to make actually him to be more of a smarty. Doesn't have to be super smart. Maybe it's only a 12 or a 14 intelligence. If we go 15 wisdom, 14 int, dex, 12 con, 10 strength, and 8 charisma. He can perform, but he probably performs in his animal form. Or he's not the best at talking to other people. Which is why he pines over his lost love so much. Was episode 85 of Campaign 2? Oh, okay. So Daly's on timeout with me. I see how it is. I'm the punishment. I'm just joking with you. this also would reflect that our body, we have strong mental stats because we lived a life before this, but this is also showing that, just because we're a sucker for a pretty face doesn't mean that it's the other way around. Well, I don't know. Nobody stays angry at me for long, but we do specialize in performance. I don't know. Maybe we should let's put our strength at 8. And let's put our charisma at 10, so we have average charisma. That might make a little bit more sense. We still at least have a halfway, we have our childish demeanor about us. I like this. All right, we add our 2 to strength, and we add our 2 from constitution. And this is giving us a starting spread here. Now we're going to get to add 2 points to 1 stat or 1 point to 2 stats at level 4, 8, 12, and 16. So we have 8 points we can distribute through here. And I think it would behoove us if we wanted to, let's bring our wisdom and our dexterity up by 1 each. And so now we have 6 points left. I think a character like this at this point in order to try and find a way to help himself or to solve things, I think he would bring up his wisdom. If we put another 4 points to bring wisdom to 20, that then would, let's bring his intelligence up to a 16. And then at level 19, when we get our final one, I don't know, we could probably throw that into Constitution or even back into Intelligence. As we're reading books and we're trying to find out more. We actually have a studious character now in the party that we're making. Because the others, int of 9, int of 8. So he's actually, he is the child prodigy. He is Smirt. This is going to give us a 0 mod for strength, 2 dex, 2 con, 3 int, 5 wisdom, and 0 charisma. And you know what? There's nothing wrong. We don't have to have a maximum wisdom. Let's put that at an 18, and let's give our poor little kid at least a couple eyelashes to bat, huh? There we go. We're going to do that instead. It's not really going to damage the character. It's not going to make the character unplayable. In fact, it makes him a little bit more adorable and rounded out. In my opinion. And if you want to redistribute the stats, go ahead and do so. You can make him your character. So 0 saving throw, 0 athletics, 2 saving throw, sleight of hand and stealth, with an 8 in acrobatics, 2 constitution save. Our intelligence save is 9, and our religion is a 9 for a skill check. Everything else is a 3, which is showing a general knowledge, like a well-roundedness. Our wisdom save is going to be a 10, with an insight of 10, and everything else wisdom is 4. And charisma is 1 down the line except performance, which is a 7. Our passive perception, our natural awareness around us, is a 14, as that's 10 plus your perception modifier. Our armor class, this is variable. Not only are we level 17, so, I mean, sure, let's say that we started with medium armor, and we're using a shield. We're probably rocking somewhere around an 18 AC or something like that. But by the time you're level 17, I don't know what you have. And also, you could turn into an animal that has wildly different ACs. So I'm going to put armor class, and, I mean, maybe we have a shield? We might. Our initiative is a +2, because that's a dex check. Our current hit points. Ooh, let's calculate our hit points. At level 1, you get your maximum amount of hit points equal to your hit die, so that's 8. For the remaining 16 levels of our 17, because remember, our first level's already, is already paid for, you get half plus 1, unless your DM says otherwise. Half plus 1 of your hit points. So half of 8 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Then for all 17 levels, we get bonus hit points equal to our Constitution modifier. And that's retroactive if we ever go back and bump it up some. Bump it up. I say bump it up. That's going to be 34 bonus. And then this is going to be 80. So we have 88. That's going to be 92. We have 122 hit points at level 17. If we're attacking with a strength weapon, I'm not going to go through the minutia for characters like this. If it's something in particular, if you're attacking with strength, then it's a +6. Naturally, not in your animal form. If you're attacking off of dex, it's a +8 to hit, and then your damage is as whatever it is. Now, if you're attacking with a spell, you have a very good +10 to hit. And to save against your spell effects is an 18. You just add 8 to your attack modifier, and that's your save DC for your spells. Flames of Life seem to be other than user. Endurance would be others as well, it seems by wording. But you have to see a creature die, and you arguably do not see yourself die. I can see where you're coming from with that thought. And so perhaps if they want to keep this for the future, the wording has to be changed up differently. Because we're talking about several different stats now. Unconscious, dying, blind, things that are kind of like stacked and nuanced into each other in a mechanical sense. Saname, now I'm tempted to make my Makote summoner a character sheet. Please do so. Enjoy it, Saname. I believe in you. You can also go to our RPG workshop in our Discord and get help too. All right. You know what? He deserves a name, everyone. What do we want to call our dwarven child prodigy here? I am open to your suggestions. As we come over here, and now we're going to worry about spells. As a druid, spells prepared equals your druid level, so 17, plus your wisdom modifier, which is 4. So on top of the spells we're already given, we can prepare an additional 21 druid spells. We cast off of wisdom. It was an 18 to save, so therefore a +10 to hit. And we can wild shape 2 times per day. We ended up having a Wildfire Circle gave us Firebolt. And then we get 4 cantrips on top of this. So I'm putting in these placeholders. And I'm not going to make a spell list for this character, especially because it's immutable from day to day. Spell slots 4, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, and 1. And from here, every time you get your spells from nature, you can put 7, 7, and 7 in your first 3 and then upcast everything and take no higher level spells. You can evenly distribute it. As long as you can cast a spell of that slot, you can take a spell or spells from your maximum number that you can prepare. And remember, these do not count against your maximum number of spells from the Druid list. Nice and easy, huh? Nice and easy. Oh, you know what? Ooh, I forgot to write in the, we had Flame Strike and Raise Dead. Oh, wait, was that the 3579? 3579. Oh. Pardon me. We don't get 5th level circle spells. Or wait, or do we? Oh, no, we don't get 1st level. Never mind. Everything needs to bump forward. Shame on me. Oh my gosh. If some of you out there were screaming at me, maybe if you're watching this on YouTube later or something, like, oh, you idiot, what are you doing? You're supposed to teach people. It even says right there, literally, 3rd level. Your 3rd level are your 2nd level spells. Duh. Actually, well, I'm sorry, everyone. I made a goof. I was thinking of clerics because we made clerics last night. And also paladins act the same way. There we go. So, ta-da! We have an awesome character that we can write a ton more backstory. And this character, even though is kind of like an on-the-side for laughs and gags guy, has a deep story and is going to absolutely participate in the greater story that's going to be told with the characters. All right, so what I'd like to do now, everyone, for all of you who have joined us, thank you for doing so, especially if you came over from Critical Role. I hope you enjoyed the episode. It sounded like it was a blast. Unfortunately, I don't get to watch it here, but I love hearing about your experiences with Critical Role. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up and take a little bit of a snack and a drink break, and when we come back, we are going to... Zach, hello. Is that Zach Mindful? MDFUL? Are you mindful, Zach? But we're going to start with a fresh character sheet, and we're going to make another character from scratch using your all's inspiration. I'll call on you in chat to roll for aspects of the character, and I would love to hear your thoughts as we're building them bit by bit. Just letters, I say it as. So Zach, MDFUL. Okay. But still, I mean, play it off. Be like, yeah, I'm totally mindful. We're going to be making another Wildfire Druid, going through random aspects. So that way we have the same Druid, but on 2 different characters to see how the same set of abilities will be used or considered in roleplay fluff or in combat crunch. So it will be another Wildfire Druid, though that's about the only thing that's locked in. Everything else will be up for grabs when we use our special character generator here. Wolfblade, you say wait?